Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, members are present. Approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda?
I'm going to add 7G, authorizing the sale of excess vehicle.
Sale of excess vehicle, okay. Any other changes? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Joe, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes, October 19th, 2022 regular meeting. I'll receive them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, or clarification needed within those minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 19th, 2020 meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Shelley, seconded by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Call a third time. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Our public open forum is now closed. We'll move on to our public hearings. We will recess the regular meeting and enter into our public hearing. We have one public hearing before us this evening regarding the ordinance regulating retail licensing for sale of cannabinoids. It is our intention that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. If you wish to speak, please sign in on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. The procedure is as follows. Presentation by staff, followed by questions of staff, then public input. Raise your hand. When recognized by the mayor, approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. State your comments and position. No one will be allowed to speak a second time until everyone has had a chance to be heard. First, we will hear questions for clarification. Then second, public in favor of the proposal. Then third, public speaking against the proposal. After everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed. After closure of the public hearing, the council will deliberate and take action as appropriate. Members of the audience do not participate in the council's discussion unless a majority of the council concedes to hear additional information or questions. The hearing is now in session. Vicki?
Okay, so as you know, on July 1st, 2022, the state of Minnesota passed legislation providing for the sale of what everybody refers to as edibles. And on August 3rd, 2022, the city council passed an ordinance establishing a moratorium on the retail sale. This was put in place to give the city time to develop an ordinance providing for the licensing. An ordinance was created. We created Chapter 120 in the city code, and we're presenting that to you tonight for approval after the public hearing. Key factors include definitions of what is all included in this ordinance. It does require a license, and it has a direction on how to procure the license, and the basis is for denial. It talks about what can be sold, testing requirements, labeling requirements, any additional requirements. It does list prohibited sales, misbranded products, signage, age verification, responsibility, hours of sales, compliance checks, penalties for suspension, and penalties for violations. Each year, a retail establishment would apply for a license to sell the product. This would be very similar to tobacco licensing that we do now. The police department will conduct a background check, and the license will be issued by the city council. Randomly during the year, the police department will conduct compliance checks and inspections to verify that the product is not being sold to anyone under 21, that only the allowed products, which is less than 5 milligrams THC per serving, is being sold, and that it's packaged correctly, and that the product is being properly secured and displayed. In talking with other cities, what they're finding in different parts of the state is that not everybody has a real good understanding of what the allowed amounts are. And so that's what they're finding more of, is that products are being sold to these retail establishments for resale that aren't technically legal in Minnesota. So that's kind of what we'd be watching for, to make sure that the legal product is being sold, that they're not allowing anybody under 21, and that they're actually following the state statute on like how it can be branded, where it can be displayed. So it pretty much just mimics the state statute. Another thing that we need to do is to set a fee for the license. In talking with the police department and comparing it to tobacco, because of needing to do a little more work than that, they are recommending a fee of $150. Another thing that some cities are doing is how many licenses should we issue? Should we cap it or not? That's up to the city council to do. I believe there may be 4 selling it right now. And so what we would do, of course, is reach out to them and anybody else about obtaining a license. And our recommendation is to have the license renew on January 1st. So we'd have until January 1st to get them all in place. So we'd have to develop an application and get that out to everybody so they could apply, so it would come back to you. But we would need to know whether or not you think that there should be a maximum number that we're going to issue. And how do we determine, is it first come, first serve, or how do we determine whether you can have a license? Right now, we will only be allowing it where places that retail sales are allowed. You can't sell it at your house or out of your trunk or whatever. You have to have a retail establishment that's properly zoned for retail in order to sell it. So that's kind of how we'll manage that. One other thing about this ordinance is that if we do adopt the ordinance, it automatically repeals the moratorium. I've had some people say, is the moratorium going to stay in place? No, the moratorium gets repealed at the same time that the ordinance goes into effect. Now, I know I gave you the state statute that talks about the product and what can be sold, what can't be sold, how it needs to be labeled. I don't know if you want to get into that kind of detail. That's something that the police department is becoming more familiar with, so that as they go out and conduct inspections or when we issue licenses, that we know what we're looking for. Does anybody have any questions for me regarding this?
Do we currently limit tobacco or liquor license sales?
We do not limit tobacco. Liquor is governed by how many in the state, except if you're a restaurant, that doesn't count in your total. So pretty much everybody has a food license, so they don't count. So there's really, technically, there's a maximum, but we never meet it for alcohol.
So to compare it apples to apples, comparing it to tobacco would make the most sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns?
Is this something that, I mean, so can you have a an on-sale liquor license and be able to?
No, liquor prohibits the sale of items in the liquor store that are unrelated to liquor, with some exceptions. And so the liquor licensing law would prohibit West Side Liquor, for instance, from selling this product.
Okay.
But a tobacco shop could sell it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, we'll move on to, is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak in favor, against, or needs any clarification? Is there anyone here? State your name and address. Come up to the podium.
Hello, Eric Conman, next to the bar. So looking at the fee for it too, is it a state and a city, or is it just through the state, or through the city?
Okay, that,
Because like the two.
The licensing?
Yeah. So
You just get licensed by the city.
Just it. Okay.
yeah,
I know like other licenses, it's federal and.
right, yeah.
And then so they would be allowed in bars too, since we do serve drinks there as well? Like this is for bars too, right?
I think Vicky was just saying if you have a liquor license that
That's
it's.
what I was kind of wondering, so it's this.
I know liquor
For
stores
off-sale?
and off-sale don't allow it. If you have an off-sale, I'm not certain whether or not it would allow a bar to do it then, because you have an off-sale.
Yep.
With your liquor.
On-sale.
You have on-sale, off-sale, and I know it has to do with what liquor stores can sell, so you have to check that.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for you on that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has any concerns or wants to speak in favor or against the proposal? Yep.
name is Anna Student. You can call me Alex. I'm a business owner of a smoke shop. She was a little bit talking fast, but my question about the gummies, if there's a certain limit, like a percentage of the gummies, which is going to be the gummies and the vape, or just only the gummies? About the deltas.
Okay,
That's my question.
So,
go ahead.
Okay, there's two kinds. There's a gummy with deltas and there's a vape with
Vape,
deltas. Is
right.
it gonna be both or just only the gummies?
it's edibles, just the edibles,
Which is the gummies?
the gummies.
Do I have to have a special license for it?
We will develop a license, yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Everyone understand that?
Yep.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor or against or needs clarification?
So just bouncing off of that question, Ricky, do you know the vape portion, is that covered under the Minnesota state statute, or?
I'm looking at the
I'm
statute
looking at
right now, so
I was trying to think back too, when it was passed, I think it was only towards
it was,
edibles.
the legislation was for edibles.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what we're dealing with, I guess.
In page 13, subdivision 5A, there's additional requirements for edibles. And then the labeling and everything has got to meet the requirement.
At this point, we're just dealing with the edible portion of it.
Right.
Does it include like beverages that would contain it then too?
No, I would think
The
beverages
gummies
are
and
edible,
beverages, yeah,
so-
right? Just to clarify
It-
that.
it's- Potentially, we would have
Yeah.
to amend it, and if we added something to it in the future.
This is basically just saying no one under 21.
Yeah.
So this is just creating a licensing mechanism is what we're doing.
Right. Is there anyone else, one last time, is there anyone that wants to speak in favor or against or needs clarification on this item? Council have any last questions? We will act on this later. Public hearing is now closed. We will reconvene our regular council meeting. Reports, presentations.
Okay, so the first report is from the EDA. They met today, November 2nd at 12 PM. We just had one item really to discuss mostly on the agenda. We were talking about the phasing plan for the plat, for the new plat, where we purchased the property from Myers. And so they're providing some input back to the city attorney on that development phasing plan. It broke into 4 phases and whether that was acceptable to them, and they have some comments back to the engineer on that. That's really the only item that they had, and they gave me direction to get back to him on that, so.
Any questions or concerns? City engineer report. Keith?
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Well, we're kind of finally coming to the end of another construction season. I think everything went pretty well overall. Most things are complete at this point, a couple little minor lingering issues that are out there that we're trying to take care of before the snow flies here. On the 2022 project, all the paving's done, the irons raised and ramping up to them, so there'll be a little bit of a bump until we get to next year with that final wear course on that pavement there. There is one retaining wall, segment of retaining wall to still go in that's scheduled for Monday the 14th at this point, so we'll get that done. There's punch list items in that'll be done next year, some pavement, or excuse me, some concrete pavement that needs to get in driveways that needs to get replaced and redone. Got some rain on them, so there's some things there. But for the most part, everything's pretty well complete on that job and pretty well buttoned up. I was over the Willow interchange, with where it used to kind of be a bit steep there going over the trail, and that seems like a pretty nice transition there now, at least my opinion. Hopefully you think the same thing. So that's that project. The South Industrial Park is pretty much finished at this point, with the exception of the lift station still. We're waiting for that to get complete. Frankly, it's not needed yet. There's nobody that's built to the point that they need that sanitary sewer at this point. We're hoping that will be finished by the end of next week, but that's not for sure at this point. There's still some coating to go on the inside of it and some wiring and some things that need to be done. So that's about the last thing there. A couple signs have to be put up and those kinds of things. So there's just a couple little things left and then clean up, and we're of course paving next year for that. So that's kind of where those projects are at. Vicki mentioned the Meyer parcel. The Meyer parcel, we're just about ready to bring that to staff for our preliminary review, and then to ultimately the Planning Commission and the council after that. So you'll start seeing some of that ramp up here in the next couple months. So that's where that one's at. I think that's about it. So if there's any questions you might have for me.
Questions, comments? I seen they did the tarring out on South Industrial Park last Friday.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, it's
So-
all done, and the turn lane is completely done, so that wear course is on there. Pretty much just striping and some signage for that turn lane, so it can be buttoned up for the year.
Okay.
Yep.
And you said the ramping around the irons on Hickman is all up, or in?
Yep, it's all up, and if you've driven through there, that's, if you drive over them, there's a little bit of a bump, but it's meant so that the snowplow goes up and over them, so it's not ideal for, it's a little bit of an inconvenience between now and when we get the wear course on next June, probably late May, early June when they get that done.
Okay.
Yeah, there's speed bumps out there.
Huh?
It's speed bumps out there.
There's speed
You have
bumps
to kind
out
of
there.
drive to the side.
I was just
the bumps.
concerned about the snow plows being able to do a decent job
Yeah,
without,
they will, and that's why we do that, so they can go up and over them, because you don't want to hit those, because that's a jarring experience for a snowplow, so.
yeah. Well, I was just thinking if we have any snowplow damage because
Yeah.
of them not getting the job done.
Yeah, I think they're all done. I
bill's
drove
going
up
to
through
them.
there.
Yeah,
I
they
didn't
are.
notice any that weren't done. I think everything is complete.
Yeah, they're done.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Action items, 7A, approve ordinance 816, adopting regulations on licensing.
So this is the ordinance in its final form for the licensing of the retail sale of edibles. And so if you adopt this, then we would publish the next item on the agenda, which is the summary for publication. But this actually will adopt the ordinance that you talked about earlier.
Okay, and that's with that fee of 150?
With $150 fee, yes. And the fee is actually set with the fee schedule. We don't put it in the ordinance, otherwise you have to amend the ordinance every year.
Okay. Questions, discussion? Otherwise, I'll be looking for a motion to approve ordinance 816.
I guess, do you want us to address whether there's a cap or anything on the number of license with this at all?
Probably should if you're thinking you want to do that.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll make a motion, we approve, and I would recommend that there be no cap on the number of licenses.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Joe, second by Shallon. Everyone understand the motion? Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve a ordinance 817 authorizing the summary publication of 816.
So ordinance 817 allows the summary publication of 16, and this is authorized when publishing the summary explains in sufficient detail what the ordinance is and also provides for copies to be provided free of cost to anyone who requests them. So the title of the ordinance is an ordinance of the City of Sauk Center authorizing summary publication of ordinance 816, adding chapter 120 to the Sauk Center City Code, providing for licensing of retail establishments for the sale of hemp-derived THC, food and beverages in the City of Sauk Center. So if we publish that, people should understand that what we did, and then they can come in and pick up a copy of the ordinance if they want it. And that would save us quite a bit of funds by not having to publish the whole thing. So we're looking to adopt ordinance 817.
Questions? Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 817?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Heidi, seconded by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve resolution 2022-85, authorizing execution of closing documents.
At the city council meeting on October 19th, the council met in closed session to discuss an offer from a business to purchase a lot in the industrial park. Staff was given direction at that time to pursue the sale. I think that was actually October 2nd, maybe. And the city attorney prepared the purchase agreement, which has now been executed by the buyer, as long as payment of the earnest money. And so what we're looking now is Resolution 2022-85, authorizing all the execution of the closing documents. The closing has not been set yet. It could be December, or it could be January, depending on the buyer, whether for tax purposes he'd prefer one year or the other. So we're looking for Resolution 22-85, authorizing the lot sale and execution of closing documents.
Comments, questions? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2022-85?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Shallen, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve resolution 2022-86, approving deferral of assessments.
As part of the special assessment process for the 22 Street Improvement Project, owners of adjacent properties assessed are afforded the opportunity to apply for a deferral of assessments under Minnesota Statute 435.193 through 195. Residents are eligible for deferral based on income, age, and/or disability. The deferral will freeze payments without interest until the home is no longer the homestead of the owner, at which time the assessment becomes due and payable. I did receive applications from 7. We are recommending approval of 6. 1 exceeded the income threshold. Also on the list here, the second one down, the parcel ID should be 9457871. And so there was an error on my resolution and staff report. Other than that, we're looking to approve Resolution 2022-86, approving the deferral of special assessments.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2022-86?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, set date for canvassing of election results.
So following any election where the city has candidates on the ballot, the city council must certify, or what they call canvassing the votes, effectively making them official. A state statute requires this vote to take place within a certain number of days of an election. With the council meeting 1 week after the election, that date falls within the required timeline, so we're recommending the vote take place at the regular council meeting on November 16th rather than a special meeting. So what we're looking to do is to set the vote for canvassing the election results to occur on November 16th.
You need a motion on that?
Yes, please.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane,
I can second.
second by Joel. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7F, appoint winter seasonal for outdoor rink.
We have been advertising for winter seasonal help and have not had a lot of success. And so Dennis Christensen, who has worked for us for many years, has agreed to come back to take care of the outdoor rink this winter. So we are looking to approve Dennis Christensen as a winter seasonal employee at the outdoor rink. And it's probably just going to be Saturdays, to go in and, Zamboni the ice and be there for a while.
Okay, questions? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve the appointment?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi.
I'll second.
I got Joe on the
Oh,
first
sorry,
one.
I
so-
didn't hear Joel. Didn't hear you, Joel.
What's that?
Didn't, yeah, right.
Oh, we were all talking at the same time. We're good.
Okay, I call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7G, sale of excess vehicle.
So it's, the city has, or the fire department, the street department, I don't know who you want to say, has a 1990 Chevy one-ton pickup. It's what used to be the grass rig, and then that got converted over to the Parks Department or Street Department, and they were using it for watering trees. Now we have a water tank on the Toolcat. We no longer use the water truck. And so between the fire department and the street department, they are requesting that we offer that for sale on min bid. So what we're looking to do is to authorize that sale, declare it excess and authorize that sale. It would be Resolution 2022-87.
Everyone got that? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve 2022-87?
Yeah. Second.
Motion by Heidi, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against.
I'd like to mention, Chief, that this is really a good deal. I mean, this is only a 32-year-old truck. They better get in on the ground floor and bid high on this one. It's going to go quick.
It has very low miles.
I know,
It's a nice
I know.
truck.
It was just driven by a little old guy around town to water plants. That's it. It's a heck of a deal.
Moving on, unfinished business, final assessment, 225 Maple Street.
Following the certification of the final assessment for the 2022 project, the owner of 225 Maple Street came to City Hall to ask questions about that assessment. He says he did not receive a notice of the hearing, and in addition, he recently purchased the home. He said he was unaware of that assessment. The city council can withhold it until 2023 if you wish to work through that issue, or it can be certified, and if found to be the responsibility of someone else, it could be retracted. The owner is here if you have any questions for him. The assessment, when he purchased the property, was about $8,500, the preliminary estimate was. And we talked to the title company, and it was agreed that that would be assumed by the buyer. Then the final assessment came out, it was about $12,400, so that was somewhat more. So if you look at, with the interest and everything, it went from about $65 a month to $95 a month if you pay it with your escrow, with your taxes. And so he is here tonight if you want to ask him any questions about it. I think he's kind of requesting that be amended to kind of go back to that preliminary amount.
Okay, comments, concerns?
I guess I'm just wondering what the time frame was between the sale and closing date that he would have known the initial $8,000 to be assumed by buyer and then not be known or
I
been
think the closing
notified.
was in August.
And
I think
our,
it was August.
our second notice went out in,
The preliminary went out like last spring. But then the final went out in, I think it was September. Our records indicate that it was mailed. But I
Was
don't
it-
know for sure whether there was an issue with the mail, or if he didn't receive the mail, or if his mail was forwarded, I don't know.
Yeah, was it mailed to the previous owner's name yet at that time?
No.
Or was the current owner's? Okay.
Basically, I guess the whole concern for me is whether or not, is there any way possible that the cities did something wrong on notification? And,
I did go back and check, and I did find the name on the mailing, the affidavit.
okay, so basically there isn't anything that we could did wrong, and it would have to be something that would have had to been disclosed in the closing, I would think.
Well, the purchase agreement said it was gonna be assumed, so it would have been disclosed in there.
Right.
So the preliminary estimate, so.
Yeah.
Agreed
And
to take them on.
preliminary estimate and actual costs are different. We'd have everybody on that whole project
right?
telling us the
Yeah.
same thing, so, you know, I don't think there's anything that we can do without setting a precedence for every
Okay.
future thing.
Yeah. I mean, I could understand if like the entire assessment was not disclosed at time of purchase, but knowing that there was still an assessment,
Yeah.
everybody was kind of hit at the same time.
And nobody knew what the final was gonna be
Right.
at that time, but
Right.
they knew there would be an assessment, so,
Yeah.
so,
The other portion is even knowing that it was a preliminary and that was
Subject to
possibility of change, yeah.
right.
I guess I would assume,
How much extra is this going to raise his house payment?
Well, she just said if you basically
60
Five
something.
of
From
them.
65 to 95.
$30.
$30 a month, okay. Thank you.
So, what's the council's wishes?
I am going to make the motion to hold on to certification for this particular request.
Okay, we have a motion from Heidi to proceed with the certification.
Correct.
I will second that. Is there any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. We have no new business. We'll then move on to consent agenda. We have the schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $267,394.87. Paid claims 0 for a total of $267,394.87. We have attachment 10B, resolution number 2022-87, resolution accepting contributions. Is there a dollar figure for the men's?
131.47.
131.47 from the men's card playing group to be allocated to the senior center. Value of $200, a chainsaw from Jim Kozlakis to be donated to the Public Works. And the closing cost for the ball field acquisition was donated by Main Street Title for the Parks Department. And on behalf of the council and the city, I want to acknowledge those contributions and say thank you. We have gambling application for exempt permit request from Sauk Center Snow Cleats for a raffle on May 10th, 2023 at the Snow Cleats Clubhouse. And we have a gambling application for exempt permit request from Center Mat Wrestling for a raffle on December 29th, 2022 at the Sauk Center High School. And another gambling application for exempt permit request from Center Mat Wrestling for a raffle on February 23rd, 2023 at the Sauk Center High School. Is there any questions about the consent calendar? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items,
The only thing I have is I have the Charter Communications, their monthly lineup changes that they provide to us, and then remind everybody that elections are next Tuesday. Or actually, you can vote any day between now and then except Sunday, so.
okay. Any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Shellen. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.